Whether it's a custom blend or dairy pellet, smart modelling tools or advice tailored for your farm, Seales Winslow is about nutrition that delivers measurable results.
All right, well, we're heading into one of the most critical windows on the dairy calendar. It's only a few weeks either side of calving, but get it right now and the whole season tends to follow. Get it wrong and you're chasing problems right through the season. This is where detail matters, how you're feeding your cows before they get into the dry season. You're setting them up for a fantastic dairy season. To break it down, we're joined by Simon Butler from Seales Winslow. He works closely with farmers applying the science of nutrition and cow physiology in a practical on-farm way. Simon, g'day, mate. Welcome to the show.
Hey Andy, how's it going? Thank you very much for having me. Very excited to be here talking about the next couple months in the dairy season.
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Like dairy farming, you're concentrating on what you've got to do today to maximise your production, but you've always got to have in your mind what you're going to do setting up for the winter and then setting up for the spring, because effectively that can affect what you do now can affect your entire season. And I remember thinking about it when I was farming, thinking it actually affects the following season as well. It's the weirdest thing, but you can easily make mistakes. So Simon, what's the main consideration farmers should have at this stage of the season to ensure optimal performance going into the next season and actually the one after?
Yeah, so to answer this question, we really need to jump forward to the start of the next season, where our goal is to calve the herd down at these target body condition scores. And these describe a bit of a balance between not having too much condition, not having too little condition, that allows the cows to avoid instances of certain calving-related metabolic diseases like milk fever and ketosis and fatty liver and things like that, but also drives optimal milk production and reproductive performance. And so we have this target that we're trying to reach of a body condition score of 5 for mixed age cows and 5.5 for heifers. The challenge is that building more than about a half a body condition score over the dry period can be really difficult, because we have certain dry period related challenges that these cows are running into. Things like it's very difficult for a cow to gain body condition score in the last 2 to 3 weeks before pregnancy. So we've shortened that window already. And that period aligns with that transition period that you mentioned before. But we also have impaired dry matter intake capacity from this growing fetus that's encroaching on the rumen. We might have poor winter forage quality, so poor quality winter grasses, or we're using hay and baleage and things like that that might not be of the best quality. And we've got growing feedal demands for energy. We've got cold weather that's increasing energy requirement, maintenance energy requirement. And we actually have one that not many people think about, is that we actually have a reduced metabolic efficiency in our dry cows as well. So it costs more dry matter to actually put condition on the cows. So with that in mind, to answer your original question, is that improving the body condition score of light cows ahead of dry off through increasing feed quality and dietary energy or diet balance to no more than about half a body condition score lower than the calving target is actually easier and cheaper while the cows are milking.
Right. So, and therein lies a little bit of a crux of the problem, right? Because when you're farming, you're actually trying to keep as much grass cover as you can, right? And finish off your season. So what's the advice, or what do you think farmers should be doing to ensure that they're maximising that body condition score at dry off?
Yeah, if we have a light herd, it's actually probably one of the highest return on investment periods for buying feed in, to be honest. Especially high energy concentrate feeds, because like I said before, even now that cow's got a reduced appetite and reduced rumen capacity, and we might have some more fibrous kind of wintry autumn grass coming in, depending on where you are in the country. A really concentrated packet of energy might be what it takes to get the condition on those cows ahead of dry off. And the other thing that should be considered, sorry Andy, is that, you know, the conventional methods of drying cows off might include things like feed restriction and water restriction, you know, stuff from, you wouldn't think is around these days, but those methods can lead to a really sharp drop in body condition score post-milking, post-dry off, along with things like increased mastitis risk. And so what we really want to do is be gradually drying cows off by actually manipulating the protein levels in the diet a couple of weeks before dry off to really wind the cows down without reducing body condition score.
So don't reduce feed quantity effectively is what you're saying, but reduce the type of feed and the protein levels, which makes sense. Yeah, because that's a very difficult one. You want to milk them as long as you can, but then when you're finished, you want to transition them onto their dry feed as best you can. So obviously that's quite a bit of advice. You need advice on that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we say this all the time. You know, people will probably get sick of. You know, they come to these sorts of things looking for really tangible, practical advice and information. It really is a case by case basis where we have to get a representative out on farm to have a look at what feeds are available, what state the cows are in, and what the goals of the farmer are.
Well, one of the costs of getting this wrong as you get through closer to calving, obviously, and then transitioning the cows from dry back onto milk is milk fever. And you talked about the metabolics. So again, talking at this time of the year, leading into drying off, leading into calving, what can farmers be doing to make sure that they're reducing that risk of those metabolic problems, whether it's ketosis or milk fever?
Yeah, so in terms of ketosis, it really is that body condition. And we'll talk a little bit more about transitioning the cow onto its milking diet to make sure nutrient and nutritional supply to the cow is there when it needs it, so it doesn't enter in too much, or doesn't exhibit too much ketosis. But body condition score is a huge one, is getting those target body condition scores right. In terms of milk fever, I always like prescribing mineral and trace element solutions throughout the winter period because it's a really kind of interesting, exciting time for those things. Usually, we treat our dry cows as a bit on holiday, a bit like I don't want to offend anyone here, but a bit like beef stock or young stock, where they actually stop getting a lot of the really cool goodies that might be coming in through an in-shed system, and we put them out on crops that might have interesting deficiencies and things like phosphorus. Wet, muddy conditions. They're ingesting a lot of iron, which can bind up things like copper. They're under a lot of metabolic stress throughout that period, and so maintaining that metabolic balance by supplying some sort of trace element and mineral packet that's maybe crop specific or winter condition specific is really going to set them up at the start of that transition period to be in a good state to avoid some of those metabolics. Magnesium obviously is a really big one as well. Cows need really robust magnesium supply to actually mobilize calcium to avoid milk fever, and magnesium can be in short supply in winter conditions.
Yeah, so that's supplementation of minerals either through water or on feed, or maybe through some feeds as well.
Yeah, so things like molasses blocks are becoming more and more popular. They're less labour intensive than some other methods, more labour intensive than some other methods, but seem to be really effective in if you're feeding fodder beet or a brassica winter crop, find a fodder beet or brassica winter crop specific block that's going to balance out those deficiencies.
Simon, the final piece of the puzzle, well, not the final piece, but looking at it from this year, you've done everything right. You've got to have the cows calved, so we're finishing dry off, they're calving down. What do we need to do to make sure we successfully transition the rumen from dry off into peak production? What do we need to be thinking about at that time?
Yeah, this is another favourite one of mine, because often when people think of the word transition or the transition period, it's milk fever, and rightly so, because it is a big problem. Very, very extensive milk fever problem in New Zealand. But the other thing that we're trying to do is that rumen within the dry cow looks very different to the rumen that's within a peak milk lactating cow, and that's due to the fact that the rumen papillae will actually degenerate or undergo involution over the dry period, and the rumen microbial population actually shrinks. And so we have a subdued ability of the rumen to ferment and convert feed into nutrients for the dairy cow. And we can start actually firing that rumen back up prior to calving using the right feeds, fermentable carbohydrates, so grains, starches from grains, to the point where those cows actually get onto their milking cow diet earlier. Dry matter intakes increase earlier, which is important when you're feeding things like lime and magnesium through feeds to colostrum cows to avoid milk fever. But we're also lessening the impact of things like ketosis and lessening that body condition score loss post-calving, which has on-flowing effects to reproduction metrics as well.
All right. It is a really important time of the year. As we said, decisions you make now can impact not just this season, but the following season. So, all right, that was Simon Butler there from Seales Winslow. Simon, really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for that advice. As we know, it is really, really important to make sure that we're looking after these cows now to get the most out of the following season. We'll talk to you again.
No worries. Thanks a heap, Andy. Thanks for having me.
All right, and if you do want to get some best advice, make sure you get along to your local Seales Winslow's rep and talk to them.
Whatever your goals, we partner with you on farm, helping to guide you today to drive the performance you want tomorrow. For tailored advice, talk to your local Seales Winslow nutrition specialist.